they think women are like men, basically. Like they think, you know what? Women just care about like the logical side. They think about, you know, just like us. Okay, and they just can't accept that it's in the subcommunications. They can't accept that it's in the vibe behind it. And you can hear me say this, and you're like, well, of course it's in the vibe behind it. But yet as soon as I say stuff like that, everyone's like, well, it's lying. And they just don't understand. Like, no, dude, like, it's in the subcommunications. What you say does not fucking matter. Okay, it does not matter at all. Okay, because she's looking if you're cool or not. She's not looking necessarily at what you're saying. She wants you to make her feel comfortable. And guys are like, well, no. And you forget it too. Like, you forget it all the fucking time. Like, guys listen to girls, even as they speak. They're like, well, you know, I got to be like very logical in what I say. Like, what are the topics to talk about? It'll be weird if I just kiss her in the middle of a sentence, when in reality, it is not fucking weird at all, okay? Remember the two wavelengths. There's like, on one hand, the material context, like what's being said logically, then there's the emotional. She's looking at the emotional. So if you take the example of that girl who I grabbed behind the pole, and I'm like, okay, kiss me now, your friend's coming, so it adds a sense of urgency. Then I'm like, but don't worry, she's talking to my friend, she's not coming. Takes the responsibility. Logically, it makes no sense, but emotionally it does. So she just follows the emotional wave. And then you just lead, and of course, it makes it happen. Okay, and that's how you should view women. It's like, don't take what they say, even what they say, like, don't take it so fucking logically and seriously. Okay? Something David Data says in The Way of the Superior Man is, listen to women or view women like just listening to the ocean. Okay, it's like, listen more to the depth of it. Don't listen to all the little surface layer things. Because if you start listening to the surface layer and you start viewing them like men, and you start taking everything they say logically, you are going to be sad, you're going to think all women lie, and you're going to be pissed off and depressed. Okay, because basically all women do is they express themselves in what we call temporary truths. Okay, temporary truths. Like what they say is like just true in the moment, but it might not be true 5 minutes from now. Okay? Now, to them, it's always true, because when you think, again, of being authentic or congruent, thoughts, words, and actions aligned, in that moment, she means it. She means it 100%. But then her emotions change. 5 minutes from now, she might not mean it anymore. And this is why you get flakes. Like, you might get a girl in the moment, she's like, fuck yeah, all adventurous. She wakes up the next day, hungover, tired, and say you call her. You're like, yo, you want to hang out again? She's like, no. Flake. And guys are like, well, what did I do wrong? And the thing is, like, her emotions just changed. It's like, guys, you see a girl, and they open a girl, say it's the beginning of the night, they kiss her, and then they go out and game some other girls, and they see her later on in the night, and they come in and they just try to kiss her again, and the girl's like, no. And they're like, well, what the fuck? It's because your emotions changed. Don't view it as like a truth that just stays all the way through. If she kissed you 2 hours ago, when you go back in, you got to view it as like a reopen. Okay, don't assume it's just going to stay where it's at, because she had 2 hours of just changing and changing and changing. Okay, so when you view women, listen to the fucking ocean. Don't take everything she says like, oh, it's the truth. She said it. It's a temporary truth. He was talking to this girl who's in Stockholm, and it was like going really, really well, like really good interaction, like massively connecting, like really good chemistry. And he's like, okay, you want to go back to like my place, you know, and like after party. And the girl's like, no, listen, I have to work tomorrow at 8 a.m. But hey, I promise we can hang out tomorrow. We'll hang out tomorrow night. Okay? Now, if you have a great interaction, there's like massive chemistry, you're going to be like, well, I guess so. You know, this girl, like, we've spent the whole night here together. We spent so much time. We have so much in common. It goes so well. She would not flake. But let me try to pull a little bit more. She's like, are you sure? Let's just go to the after party. And she's like, listen. Can't you feel the chemistry that we have? And you're like, well, I guess we do. It's like, look, do you really think I would flake on you? Do you really think that? Like, after all this, like, I've never met a guy like you. Like, I've had the best night of my life now. You know, and plus, I broke up with my boyfriend recently, and he was just like a complete asshole. And he would do something like this, but you wouldn't. I don't want you to be like another boyfriend. I want like a fresh start. I want a clean slate, and I really think like we really, really get along. Don't you think so? And then you're like, well, after party? It's like, no, please don't ruin this. Please don't ruin it. Look, I really, really like you. Don't ruin this for me, okay? Please don't try to push for it. Like, I really like you. I promise we'll hang out tomorrow. You know, I just don't push for it. And you're like, damn it. Like, damn it. Well, if she gives me her word, she's like, look, I promise. I promise. You're like, okay, well, let me be a little more precise then. Let me screen for the day 2 then and there to be sure. So like, so you work tomorrow? Like, when are you off? She's like, look, I'm off at 5. Then I have to go see some friends, but I'm free at 8. We can hang out at 8 tomorrow. And you're like, well, let me get a little more in depth. So where at 8? She's like, just text me and I'll meet you wherever. I promise. You're like, okay. And she's like, here's my number. Here's my Facebook. Here's everything you need. Okay? See, I even wrote down your number and your Facebook. I'll add you right now. Bam. I've added you. 100%. You're like, Okay. And then you have like the passionate kiss goodbye. Text her the next day. Who is this? Now, she didn't say, who is this? She's like, oh, actually, my friends can't. Sorry. Bam. And if you view it as like a man, you're like, dude, if some guy told you all that, you're like, what the fuck? Like, lying piece of shit. Whore. That's probably what you think. Like, lying whore. But in reality, like, no, she meant it in the moment. Okay? She might not mean it the next day, but say suddenly she's out and she's feeling adventurous again, you might just get a random text from the girl like, hey, I want to hang out again. Because again, her emotions change. Okay? Whatever she's thinking is always associated to her emotions. And this is more like the longer scale, but even throughout the night, it changes all the fucking time. Okay? All the fucking time. Like, she could be saying something at one point, and then literally 2 minutes after, she says something that's completely contradicting. Okay? Because they're in touch with the emotions. So when you're talking to a girl, first of all, don't take everything she says so fucking seriously. Secondly, don't take her word for it. Okay? Think logically. Always ask yourself, man, the emotions are going to change. I gotta, like, you know, cover my fucking exes. I gotta make it fucking happen. Like, don't be like, oh, she said so. Oh, if she's like, oh, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Well, I'll find you later in the club. She said she'd find me later. Fuck no. Go in front and wait in front of those fucking bathrooms for her to come out. Okay? Unless you get the number and you want to see her again, don't take what she says so seriously. And also, just in terms of the interaction in general, if she operates that way, it doesn't really matter like what you say or how you say it. Like, you can be talking seriously about like politics, and then in the middle just kiss her. She's not going to be like, wait, how did we go from politics to kissing? She'll just be like, oh, on the emotional flow. She's like, oh, now we're kissing. Awesome. Oh, now we're talking about politics. Oh, now we're doing this. Now we're doing this. It's all good. Okay? But that's how you should really view women. That's how you should like step out of like the values of like society that says, no, you got to be thinking logically. You got to be like, you know, telling the truth in like a logical way. It's like, no, tell the truth to yourself. Tell the truth emotionally in the subcommunications. The logical way, just joke around. It really doesn't matter. Okay? It really does not matter. Okay? To reinforce this even more, like an exercise you can even do to hammer in the fact that it's on the subcommunications is go out and talk to a girl, like just do a silent opener. Like, go up and don't talk for the first 30 seconds. Okay? Now, when I say this, that doesn't mean just go up and be like, just don't do anything, but focus more on like the vibe you're putting out. Like, if you go into your like in the facial expressions, like more like it forces you to zone in on that deeper layer. Or even like talking just in sounds, like hey, like that, just like doing sounds. Like, she can sense, oh, the deeper layer, the subcommunications. Okay, it doesn't matter like necessarily what you say, because she can sense like in the deeper vibe, like, oh, this guy is cool. Okay, this guy is cool. Like, you can literally go up and be like, oh, blah 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 blah. Like, she can just sense the sense of expression, like, oh, that guy's awesome. He's really cool. It's the same with like guys who are like, well, what about body language? Like, I can literally go up and open a girl just by being like this. Like, if I just have my arm here, I'm like, hey, how's it going? What's your name? Oh, cool. Cool place tonight. Yeah. She'll still think I'm cool. I could even slap myself every 5 minutes and be like, oh, yeah, isn't that what I was saying? Yeah, you know, it's all good. Like, I can literally do that. She'll still sense that I'm cool, okay? Like, it doesn't matter. It's, like, all in the subcommunications. Anything that's, like, material context, like the way you look, the money, like, it's just bullshit. It's complete bullshit, okay? She zones in on the vibe, and that's what you should zone in, too. Like, what is the vibe behind it, okay? What am I putting out? And that's also when you travel around. Like, it doesn't matter what you say. Like, I've picked up girls and fucked girls without saying a single word in their language. Like, I remember I was with Tyler one night. We were walking in LA at like 3 a.m. There's like these two Italian girls. And like, I know nothing in Italian. I know pizza, spaghetti, pesto, and like all this shit. And I was like, pizza, 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 and like, and it's like on, okay, completely on. In South America, all I knew in Spanish was one, El Pollo Loco, which is like fast food in Los Angeles. So I'm like, it means the crazy chicken. So I'm like, Pollo Loco. And then I knew another one that I'm probably saying wrong, which is Me gustas chile más grande marrone, which means like I love big black dicks. And the other one, which I would use for my opener when I was in South America, was perro, which means dog. And that's all I'd do. I'd be like, perro, 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 perro. And she's like, oh my God, and like just come, because you could sense that I'm cool. It doesn't even matter what you say. Okay? It doesn't matter what you say. In Germany, I would say stuff like Schweinchen, which means like little pig. So I'd be like, Schweinchen, like that. Or another one which is like sei mein Schwein, which means be my pig. So and that is the coolest pronunciation. Like, you really sound horrible. You're just like, sei mein Schwein, sei mein Schwein. And she's like, oh my God. Like, imagine some dude screaming, sei, like, be my pig. But just because she senses, again, the subcommunications are on, she becomes massively attracted. Okay, massively attracted. So really like focus your attention on that. Okay, it's like, what am I putting off? And you can always see within the night, if you're doing like a horrible night, and say you're just not, it's just not fucking clicking, and say you're sane and doing all the same things, do the silence. Like just go in silence and be like, and see how she'll react. If she's like disgusted, that means you're putting out the wrong type of energy, the wrong type of vibe. You're not on top of your fucking game. You're not on top of your shit. You're attached to the outcome. You're like, you want it to work. Okay, and she can just sense that taking value type of vibe and just is extremely repulsed by it. Okay, or she can also sense you're not clear in your intentions. She can sense your thoughts, words, and actions are not aligned. You're not being honest on a more deeper layer. Okay, on the more like sub-communication layer.